And anytime we can get somebody who is like outside of our community, outside the military, who looks at the same places that we've been from a different angle, I'm very interested in, because obviously the military doesn't have the corner on the culture or how to best interact with the people that we're fighting. So, um, and I've read your book, man. Reports from Hell. It was pretty good. It was an interesting take on Yemen, like I was telling you earlier. I know that place well, and I couldn't help but like I was looking on Google Earth, um, places like Hadramaut and Aden, and some of the places that you spoke about, because like McCullough, man, that place is like gnarly, you know, and the place is a no shitter. So to have gone there under the conditions under which you went, you know, it's something that hopefully we can talk more about. But I'll go around the room first. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for being here, Chaz. I'm Lieutenant Leonard. I just graduated the basic school, which is the officer's version of infantry, School of Infantry. And I'm here before I go to my next follow-on school, just learning how the day-to-day operations work, and excited to hear what you have to say.
Pleasure to meet you.
How you doing, Chaz? My name is Sergeant Belcher. First name's Justin. Once again, like Sir said, I'm glad that you come out and spread some knowledge with us, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a surfer myself, born and raised from Oceanside, California, so a little bit north of you. Yeah, man, thanks for joining us, and looking forward to hearing what you got.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Chaz. I'll turn it over to you, man, for some opening comments.
Do you want just an introduction of who I am?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So yeah, my name is Chaz Smith. I'm a surf journalist, I suppose, which is amazing that there's such a thing. I went to school and studied intercultural studies in university, and then I don't know. I think I got fascinated by, I don't know, just the world through my Uncle Dave, who was actually a Marine in served in or fought in Vietnam. But after that, he had like a kind of mission organization that would take medicine and dentists and doctors to war-stricken countries. And then what first really turned me on is he went to Afghanistan, and I think I write about it in the book. But there's a picture of him standing next to a camel with a bunch of mujahideen, and he explained who the mujahideen were, and on the camel were Stinger missiles. And I thought that was about the coolest thing I'd ever heard in my entire life. They were fighting the Soviets, and I just thought that was amazing. So from then on, I kind of just had I don't know, I just wanted to get out into the world. So intercultural studies major, got my master's degree in applied linguistics. And Middle East was always super fascinating. I studied undergrad for 6 months at the University of Cairo. And so learned some Arabic there, and then just went back as much as I could. And then as soon as 9/11 hit, I did it with my two best friends, Josh and Nate. As soon as 9/11 hit, just was staring at Yemen on the map and thought that must have surf. And that was it. So then we went and spent 3 months surfing Yemen. That was the first time we went to Yemen. I think I've been across the entire country 3 or 4 times. To the Omani border and back. So first time we surfed all the way. Second time we got motorcycles in Sana'a and drove all the way to the border, and then ripped through the Hadramaut, through Osama bin Laden's hometown and whatnot back. And that time we were looking for the headwaters of radical Islamic terrorism. And then the third time we drove from Dubai through Oman and then all the way through to Sana'a, all the way through Yemen. So it was, the first time was 2003, second time I think was 2007, and third time all the way through was 2009. And then I'd been back a couple times just to Sana'a after that. So, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'll get into the book, man. So this is obviously after 9/11, and you're looking at going to Yemen. But I got to ask, so that your decision to go to Yemen was purely based on what you thought were going to be some newly ridden waves?
I mean, kind of like surfing just as a way to travel, as a reason to travel. It's just, I don't know. for some reason having an excuse to be somewhere. If you just show up somewhere, then why are you there? Surfing, as silly as it is, ostensibly gave us a reason to be in Yemen. So I was more fascinated in going. I love surfing, but I was way more fascinated in going and seeing Yemen, seeing, especially as this news started coming out, who this Osama bin Laden was, what Al Qaeda was, and I sort of had a grasp on what Al Qaeda was just from the coal bombing in Aden, but I don't know why. I just thought, okay, we got to go. And plus, the fact that nobody'd ever surfed there or nobody'd ever surfed the mainland, I thought this is just too perfect. And so, yeah, talked to buddies Josh and Nate about it, and we threw it together and somehow pulled it off.
Yeah, I read some of the exploits when you guys were going through Shabwa and into the Hadramaut and Mukalla, man, specifically, because that's like the beating heart of Al Qaeda in Yemen, AQI, and it's pretty interesting. You even noticed that things were not right in that town, and you had that sixth sense. And as I've talked to many people who've been there and who traversed that terrain, to do something about that area that is I wouldn't say a perfect storm, but it seems to attract some of the most devout followers of Islam. And so I found it pretty interesting how you driving through and you already noticed that something was amiss. You mentioned like you didn't see women in the streets. All you saw was some dudes walking around in thobes. And can you talk more about that and
Yeah.
how you felt going?
For sure. So first time, so we had just come off, there was a wave, actually. It was the first great wave we had found that was right outside of Mukalla. And so coming up from Aden, we had to go inland to a town called Atak. And yeah, there was a skirmish outside there where we were told Al Qaeda was coming for us, but who knows what was actually happening. But that's literally what we were told. And there was a bunch of Yemeni military in the hotel the next morning. They looked like they had been up all night fighting. But anyway, we went down from there, caught an epic wave outside Mukalla, and then went into Mukalla, right? And it feels different, but it was also my favorite town that I'd ever been in my entire life. Like there was something about the way it looked and smelled, and there was some tension, but it was, I don't know, that's I guess the stupid thing about me and Josh and Nate is wanting to get into it more. So we tried to actually stay at a hotel that was right next to the mosque, and there was just, a flock of beards around there just evil eyeing us. We were with a driver who refused to let us stay there, and wanted us to leave Mukalla altogether. But we actually spent 10 days that first time in Mukalla, and would go there every day to the mosque. And I don't know, there was something about obnoxiously maybe forcing our way in where, they all started talking to us after a while. And, we talked about surfing, and I think they were more confused than anything. They're like, what the hell are you guys? You guys are weirder than anything. And I think, they just thought we were weird the whole time.
Wow.
But
it's pretty wild, man, because, I've studied Yemen and I've looked at it from different angles, but never in my kind of wildest dreams did I think I'd, be talking to someone who went there to surf, and not just surf, obviously, but also to understand of what's going on in Yemen. And you see it today, and it's like one of the most challenged places on the planet. And that place is running out of water. They've got the war going on, and they've had multiple wars going on. And then, you mentioned the rise of communism in South Yemen and how the country broke up. But, there's not many people who understand Yemen. And so to go there with, surfing, that's an epic adventure, man. And most people are unwilling or just don't know how to do it. So I give you a lot of credit for that.
I think we were pretty dumb too, but we sorted it out.
So what kind of boards did you take? I gotta wonder.
We had I think it was like 5. We had like 2 board coffins. The board coffins were always the freaky thing, I realized later, just because they're so, big Mylar board coffins where they look like what naughty thing is in there. But yeah, we had 5 JCs, I think a the shortest one was maybe it was like a 5'8" squash, and then the biggest was like, we didn't know what we were gonna find. So I think we had like a 6'3" kind of pintail thing in the mix
Wow.
too. But yeah, but I mean, Yemen is, I've spent a bunch of time in the Middle East too, or just other places than Yemen, and I'm not a huge fan of Saudis. Don't really like the Emiratis that much. Bahrainis, all of them can, Kuwaitis can all kick rocks, but there's something about the Yemenis that I think maybe not having oil or
Yeah.
as much oil as everyone. There was something, so even the ones, I mean, of course, you like, we get the full, your country is evil and blah 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 lectures from people, but after that, I mean, we would literally sit down with so many, like, straight up Al Qaeda and have, chicken dinner with them, and then off we'd all go, kind of with no, like, we're all brothers now, but just, they would let us have it with what they thought, and then be okay, cool, like, let's eat, and then off you go. Which was
Wow.
something about the Yemenis, I think that, and obviously, I mean, the trouble there now is absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, it truly breaks my heart. I was trying to figure out a way to get to Aden the other day, but it's just so. I mean, it's trouble.
Yeah. I also was reading about your trip to Socotra, and for me, that's like one of the 10 places I would love to go. And and you briefly talked about like the hotel you stayed in, and how that was. And is there anything more you can add to your time in Socotra?
I mean, Socotra really truly is. I mean, you read about it and whatnot. It is unlike anything that I've ever seen in my life. That, from the trees that bleed to I mean, the crazy flora and fauna, and it's really, it feels wild, and the people there feel very different. They don't feel typically Yemeni. Um, I mean, it's just its own thing. Like Haribu, the main town, is small and, pretty unremarkable, but outside of there. But I heard now that I mean, maybe you can't say, but that the Chinese and everybody are looking at it for a base. I mean,
Well, it's public knowledge that the Chinese have built their largest or their only overseas military base in Djibouti,
yeah,
and it's not far from Socotra.
yeah, we've
And the
spent a bunch of
Chinese
time there too.
used to have a military base in Aden. And actually, the Chinese did their first overseas non-combat evacuation um, just as the first Yemeni-Saudi war was kicking off, and they evacuated all their folks from all their Chinese nationals from South Yemen, and they took them to Djibouti and Eritrea and some other places near that area. But yeah, from everything I've heard, and also another question for you: did you see all that trees and fauna? And
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
really?
totally. I mean, that's the great part of it, right? Is I mean, there's nobody there. So I think there's only a few, or there
Yeah,
were when we were there, only a few vehicles on the whole island. And so you have to kind of grab one of those, but then you can honestly just go anywhere you want. There's only small fishing towns kind of dotting the outer part, or the coastal parts, but the inland is just, I mean, it's just wild and uninhabited, but you can run around wherever you want, which is, it feels good to be sort of
yeah.
free that way.
Wow. And so going back, man, you ever been surfing down in Mexico? And
Yeah,
did that kind of prepare you for some of the adventures and craziness
it
of?
for sure. I mean, just that, I like being able to go, go rough. I mean, I remember at the end on Socotra, we got dumped off and the car had to leave. And so we were there for like 10 days and just kept going, but you go feral and crazy after a while. I mean, I remember I think all we had at the end was a little bit of water, and somebody made tea with it. And we were all pissed because we had to eat. So we were just making tea ramen at the end, which was,
Yeah,
it got pretty rough. But yeah, but it's that kind of, I mean, it was always fun. It's always like we're just crawling under rocks to hide from the sun in the day. Just, yeah, I mean, a lot of Mexico surfing, I suppose, when you're just stuck on the beach and
yeah,
trying to hide.
yeah, exactly. Dang. So is there another trip to Yemen in the horizon for you?
I mean, I would love to go more than anything. We had a sailboat actually in Aden that we wanted
Yeah.
to go. Yeah, I mean, I wrote about it. So we went to Djibouti and pulled the tried or God did get the boat out of Djibouti, and then we were going to sail back to Aden. So that's still now the boat is up in Egypt, but yeah, I definitely want to get back to. I mean, it's all I honestly, it's a lot of what I think about. But again, at this point in time, I think being a, like looking like it's war tourism is, I think war tourism is ugly, A, and B, being a strain on the already, completely crumbled infrastructure would just
Yeah.
be, unless I had a real something to offer, which I can't
Right.
figure out what that would be.
Yeah. A few years ago, there was a hurricane or typhoon that struck Yemen, and actually it came across right into the Hadramaut, into Makalla, and did a lot of damage. And I know the Emiratis are involved, obviously, in the war down there, but I know they're also through the International Red Cross and the Islamic Red Cross. They're they're supporting some of the recovery and some of the post-war or ongoing conflict actions down in Yemen. But I had some buddies that went surfing down in Oman,
Yeah.
and he said like with the right weather and the right conditions, it was pretty fucking epic.
I mean, literally from Mukalla up, it is honest to goodness, like not every wave is epic, but there's epic surf on that,
Yeah,
especially as it catches the what, not the typhoon season, what the whatever the wet season, like
yeah,
all, I mean, it just pumps.
yeah. When I was in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, I was stationed in Abu Dhabi. One day, me and a couple SEALs, we drove just past Dubai. Well, actually in Dubai, and just past the famous five-star hotel, that sail looking
Hmm.
hotel. Just east of that, there was a bunch of breaks, and there's actually even a surf shop right there. And we hit some waves before during the stormy season, and it was unbelievable to see everybody coming out. We ran into a couple of French guys, a couple of Brits,
It's a bunch of
and
Australians.
yeah, yeah, it was just unreal seeing everybody out in the water from all over the world. And like I was telling you, Al Ain is the place where they built that man-made wave pool. Uh, I kind of think that's like the first one that ever was built.
Yeah.
And I saw Kelly, Slater's built his own up in Central California. But when we were out there at Al Ain, we saw a bunch of local Arabs surfing and getting at it. And makes you wonder, like, just in the military, down at or up at Camp Pendleton, we went surfing with a bunch of our buddies, and we've actually started. There's a Camp Pendleton Surf Club there, and getting. Well, one of the unique things about the military is that you got people from all over the United States, and in some cases the world. And they go to places like Camp Pendleton, and some of these Marines have never seen the ocean, and here they are. They know. Well, I think we all understand that we're going to travel the world and see things, but if you could bring a tool with you along the way, surfboard, and you're probably going to be around the ocean, and if you could just learn that skill, then you're probably doing a little more than just your standard craziness in a bar or in some little shit town somewhere trying to bring down the house. But that's a lot of the Camp Pendleton Surf Club and some of the Marines are getting at teaching younger Marines how to surf, just so they give them an extra tool.
Can you surf that break? I drive past there so many times looking at the one that's where you have the little whatever, the little village, training village or something built, and then there's a wave, but I've never seen anybody surf it, but it's always peeling.
Yeah, yeah, you're talking about Red Beach.
Is that
Yes,
yeah?
yeah, you can surf there.
Raw.
So if you want, I'll do this for you, man. I'll link you up with a buddy of mine, and he'll take you out on Camp Pendleton.
Oh,
Uh,
I would love it.
81 epic, unsurfed. Really, they're unsurfed beaches.
I never see anybody.
If you if you come in to this place, so on Camp Pendleton, there's a spot called Del Mar, and it's not Del Mar, California, but it's Del Mar, Camp Pendleton.
Yeah.
And if you come in there and you park, you are in this like military resort. They have like a little military resort, and there's a bunch of breaks there that we serve. And then if you just grab your boards and just start walking up the beach because there's no road, you're going to hit breaks that have never been surfed by anybody. And it isn't up until you get to San Onofre, and obviously you're tracking San Onofre, but right there at San Onofre, just on the military side, there's a bunch of breaks that are just, it's just you out there. So you see everybody right there and San Onofre just like piling up in the lineup. But just like not but 300-400 meters away, you're on this break all on your own.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's worth being a Marine right there.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, man, that's one of the things why I was interested in talking with you is because going to the places that the military goes, and obviously we're there under different reasons and different rules and different conditions. But this book you wrote is kind of shedding another light on another reality. And you can go to Yemen and yeah, you can read the news and you can see all this horror in the streets, and you can read the news and you can buy into that, or you can understand that, hey, people live there and it's on the water, and you know the coffee trade made its legend in Yemen. I mean, Mocha, the town of Mocha is where we got the name Mocha coffee. And but if you look at places like Yemen, and there's places like Oman, and especially tons of unsurfed spots in the Middle East, I think your book, man, is really kind of the first of its kind that's shedding light on surfing in these places that are, like you said, like jungle surfing. It's you're on the edge of the empire. You're on the edge of kind of Western civilization, and you're bringing a different look, especially for people that are not going to get it. Your average Yemeni doesn't travel very much and lives this very simple, hard, tough life. And to bring something in like that, I give you a lot of credit.
I mean, even being entertainment for them, right? Like, of course, we're surfing, but they would just all poach on the rocks and sit and watch us, just thinking, why are you guys doing that afterwards? But I think providing some level of entertainment for them was fun for them too, just to be part of it.
Yeah. Outside of Yemen, is there any other spot? Like I've been to Sri Lanka before, and that's pretty hardcore. But is there any spot that you're looking at?
We did Somalia, but only the top half. Somalia was gnarly. Somalia is not cool, but I would still love to get down to Mogadishu and stick it there. And I sometimes wonder if on the right, I'm like, it's funny that I always used to think that Island Shadow or, whatever, like there's the way I look at surfing, I think after Yemen changed because there was places that were breaking that had no business breaking just by the way the land was. And so I sometimes wonder if waves would ever sneak up to Sudan, like, especially when the water turns and runs back up the Red Sea. If you could find some up there, where else would I love to go? I mean, of course, I know this has been done, but I would really love to go out and surf Kamchatka, Russia. I hear that's absolutely mind blowing. Like bears come up and nibble on your board in the afternoon and whatnot, which seems pretty cool.
Damn, I've seen some guys out in on a good day. My wife and I, we lived in the Middle East for a number of years, and we lived in Saudi Arabia. I lived there for a year, and she lived there for many years. But when she was an expat working there, but we used to go to Bahrain, and on occasion you would see, especially when there's bad weather and remnants of a typhoon, you would see some waves in the Persian Gulf or in the Arabian Gulf. You see some crazy stuff there.
Totally.
And I was wondering about Egypt too, if that got anything during the season.
I was up in Alexandria. I mean, we surfed Lebanon too, and all you need there is a good winter storm. And I got like, honest to goodness, proper head high, super fun waves off Beirut. Which,
Really?
yeah, which the same Alexandria I know does the same thing. Like it's just a matter of those. You got to wait for those storms, but the
Yeah.
storm has to be, I think, pretty close to shore. But it was like honestly pumping Beirut.
Wow. I've heard that Israel gets some good stuff as
It
well.
does.
And I've come across, especially on Instagram, people that have surfed out there. Um, but yeah, man, that's awesome. Are you when you look at places like Yemen? Obviously, there's probably good times and bad times to go, but not just for weather, but also what's going on in the ground. How closely do you watch all that?
I watch it pretty close. I think Yemen's been so. I mean, it's funny. I try to think. Now I'm married and have kids. That during this run, I wasn't married. I try to think of how much that changes. My appetite for doing stuff like this. I try
Yeah,
to look back even then, I don't know. It feels to me like something happened in, I don't know, maybe with Syria, where everything had started getting lopped off all over the place. Where I think as long as we could stay, I always felt as long as we could stay nimble a little bit in Yemen, we'd
yeah,
be fine. I was never really worried about anything. I mean, there was, and when we had scary situations or whatever, I remember just yelling back at people like, fuck you guys. Like, just getting in a normal human
yeah,
fight without worrying about, oh, I'm going to get my head cut off.
yeah,
Uh, Now I think about that a bit more and I don't know if it's just my getting older or if the temperature really has risen a bit, but it feels like it's risen a bit.
yeah. I would agree, man. One of the common themes in your book was that you were constantly on the move. Like every few days, I felt like you were on the move, and that probably saved you, man, a couple times. And that is just kind of the reality. And I would agree, having spent many years in the Middle East, I think the temperature has changed. And there's places in Saudi Arabia, there's places, and even Bahrain, which is in a pretty amazing spot. It's kind of like the Las Vegas of the Middle East, where kind of anything goes in that town. And but I look at places like that, and even in Bahrain, there's no go areas for Westerners. And the situation, yeah, I agree with you. Syria was a very like visceral view of this is what happens if it goes unattended.
Which is
And
Syria was crazy. I mean, I spent so much time in Syria, and Syria was just so, I mean, Syria is where we'd go to like relax because it was life was so easy in Syria, which is just the way that turned really shocked me.
yeah, yeah, you look at like even in Egypt, man. Obviously I hear a lot of the bad stuff, and we maintain a lot of that. But my wife used to go diving in Egypt a lot, but because of the security situation, they had that plane crash, that Russian tourist plane crashed, and you just like look at all the terrorism that's going on. It's like obviously with Iraq, the situation in Iraq kind of falling apart with the multiple rounds. It just spread this this kind of, I wouldn't say scary situation, but it spread this like a new wave of Islamic terrorism throughout the Middle East, and that's something we're all kind of dealing with now.
I mean, yeah, that second or third time to Yemen looking, I mean, I wrote about it. My buddy's whole idea of where all that came from is what we were actually trying to find. Yeah, which he's still pretty convinced that he's right on it. But yeah, a lot of good that it does.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so when you're now that you're back in Southern California and or in San Diego, what's your favorite spot out there, man?
Oh, I mean, I'm the laziest surfer. So I live in Cardiff and literally Pipes is just, I can roll down the hill to Pipes and that's all I do. And so if Pipes is not breaking, then nowhere for me is breaking. And then I'll go up to Orange County and see it like, or hear that, Trestles was firing or wherever was, and I'll be, wow, why am I so lazy? Why didn't I just drive the 30 minutes to Trestles and go
Yeah,
surf instead of thinking that it's, uh, pipes is not breaking. It's not breaking.
I've seen some guys. We used to go to Beacons, and we heard about that kid who got attacked by a shark.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man.
I don't.
And,
was that proven that he did though? I swear he got stung by. Oh, that was
I heard-
Moonlight. I'm sorry. The Beacons kid. Yeah, he did get bitten.
yeah, he got bitten, but it was either by a seal or by a shark.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think a shark thought he was a seal because of his kind of camouflage wetsuit he was wearing. And
Yeah.
I heard the kid got mangled pretty good.
Yeah, that kid. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he was like lobster diving right around dusk or something like that. But yeah, most of the time, my buddy and I, he's a much better surfer than I am. We would go to Oceanside Harbor, and it's an easy, simple, just east of the pier or just north of the pier.
And it gets so good.
Yeah, and it's good on a good early morning, and we just head to work after that. But so Cardiff, that's your spot.
Cardiff is my spot more or less. Oceanside sure is getting wacky now. Have you been home lately?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been at least a year since I've been back, but we'll probably be back in San Diego in January.
That's
and
huge.
when we get out there, we're gonna go hit it.
Yeah, there's a huge resort now there, and like it's all gentrified. Oceanside's a fancy place now. It's no longer a derelict town, which is weird.
It used to be like the best town in San Diego.
Completely.
For tattoos and getting thrown out of a bar.
Completely. Not anymore. Now it's all fancy coffees and avocado toast.
I know. You got a question there?
Yeah, I'll ask a question. So you've obviously traveled all over the place surfing. In these remote areas, did you ever consider getting the locals involved in the surf rather than just having them watching?
I mean, totally. And we did. Kids, a lot of times would run in and be excited. And we'd always love to push the kids in waves and whatnot. And on Socotra, actually, the fishermen grabbed our boards and went out there. On most of these places, I feel though, or the locals, unless they're fishermen, have like an sort of unfamiliar feeling with the water. Like they're not rushing in to go swimming or whatever, right? The kids are splashing around and doing whatever, but it seems like the adults are more, I don't know, just not as comfortable with the ocean in Yemen, unless they were fishermen. But the fishermen grabbed our boards, and it takes a while for a beginner to paddle into a wave usually. The fishermen had it right away. They're just like paddling in, and they couldn't really stand, but they had so much fun. And it was, like, I don't know. I suppose I don't go and grab people and pull them into the water, but if anyone's out or curious, then yeah, it's always a good time.
Wow.
Even though it's really against surf. You're not supposed to make anybody else a surfer. It's already too many surfers. You're supposed to discourage people actively.
Yeah. I was reading up about you, and I see you wrote this book about the surf industry and specifically competitions. And growing up in Hawaii, they're everywhere on the island, and I always wondered in many ways that you see the surfers that are out there, man, and the islands just generate some really good. You got Andy Irons, and you got Sonny Garcia, both two guys unfortunately have passed. But what are your thoughts on the surf industry and the surf competition culture?
I mean, I don't see it surviving COVID, to be honest, in the way it is. I think the World Surf League, the governing body, was sort of failing before, and then not being able to put on competitions. But I think what's going to happen in the ashes of that, you're just going to have local competitions again, which are going to be way better and way more fun. Like Pipeline, the times I've covered or been out there, being a surf journalist, I always love the pipe shootout or, Eddie Rothman's event or the Vulcan Pipe Pro because of all the Hawaiians that are in it. Like, I don't care as much about Pipe Masters just because I don't know. I love to watch Hawaiian surfers surf their own waves. There's something, at sunset too, watching all those
Yeah.
guys who surf or Waimea. Like, I don't know. So I think the surf industry is just decimated. There's no real such thing anymore. I mean, it is everything is folded. Surfer Magazine just folded.
Yeah.
Uh, Everything's done. The brands are failing. But it's weird because more people than ever before have started surfing. But I think just nobody's into the culture. They all buy boards at Costco and go paddle out. But nobody. I think the idea of a surf identity, like wearing surf clothes or being a surfer, no longer exists. I think people surf for fitness or to social distance, but don't engage other than that.
Wow.
Which yeah, I think the core is over, or it's just a shrinking little nut now.
Yeah. And you look at all the brands that were back in the day,
Yep,
Lock and Roll and OP and, everybody else. But it looks like what would happen with a lot of them is that they all consolidated, right?
I mean they all went public and then just fucked themselves. I think because how
Yeah,
do you,
exactly.
yeah, how do you have an identity when you have to be beholden to a shareholder?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I saw one of my buddies worked for, he was a lead designer for Sector 9 skateboards there in San Diego. And they got bought out by this corporate buyout and they sent everything to China. And, he lost his job. And um, now all the skateboards are made in China and sold under this, image of the old Sector 9 image. And I remember growing up and they were like the downhill skateboard, you
Totally.
know, board to have. And but you're right, a lot of this has changed, and maybe COVID is, if there's ever a silver lining, especially in the surf world, it provides this reset that maybe the surf industry needed. Yeah, yeah, I think that reset is something that the industry needed in many ways. Um, but then, especially when it comes to travel, and now, how do we chase down those waves? And I've got a buddy of mine who just went to Corpus Christi, Texas, and now in the winter months he's able to catch a little more.
Does he tanker
Um,
surf?
I think he is. I saw some videos just the other day of him on Instagram. Have you done it before?
No, it looks so fun though.
Yeah, I mean it's like a mile long wave,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I've thought about it, but yeah, I'm looking like how do we go from here, especially in the surf community, and I think you're right. It's all gonna be local. It's gonna go back to how it used to be.
But that's
Where
what I would love if people like stood up too and started like black short slapping kooks at their, like whoever blow-ins on soft tops. People should, yeah, Eddie Rothman up and yeah, be tough again. Come on, surfers. Yep. That's
yeah,
my message is the surf community. Drop in on kooks and send them to punch their fins out.
yeah,
Not gotten too
yeah,
soft.
yeah. I didn't know you grew up in Oceanside. Is that right? Oh wow, that's right on. Yeah. Um, so yeah, man. I'll connect you with my buddy
Oh, I'd be
David,
so absolutely thrilled.
and he has surfed all of the spots in Pendleton, and he is he knows that place well. One of the things we're looking at doing was creating a surf map of Camp Pendleton, but like any other good spot, I'm afraid it'll
You
get
don't want to.
overrun. Yeah, yeah, no. Is there any other good spots that you've seen that you'd be willing to share, like in some of these places you travel to?
Where what had really good? Oh, Sochi actually had some waves, which was surprising. And Black Sea. I mean, that's the crazy thing is looking at bodies of water that are big enough to produce storms. Like, I mean, I think that's where you can get totally off the beaten path because Black Sea is plenty big enough and gets plenty of storms and stuff does whip and break. Where was the best? I mean, Yemen was so phenomenal surf wise. I don't think that I've surfed anywhere honestly better than Yemen of
Wow.
any place I've been of all the weird countries. I mean, you know, besides your standard Australia's, Kauai's, wherever. But where else? Oh, Morocco is. I bet everybody knows Morocco. Morocco is unreal.
Wow.
Morocco
I,
around the
I've
bend.
never been to Morocco, but I think that place would be epic.
I mean, it's complete. It's like point breaks for days around towards Mauritania. It's like ridiculous.
Wow. One of the things that I've always wondered, you know, the Hawaiian island chain is like 1,000 islands, right?
Yep.
So 7 of which I think are inhabited. If you count Midway, maybe eight. But if you follow that Hawaiian island chain a little further out, I think there is going to be some, you know, if you could go for the day, if possible, there'd be some epic waves along that chain.
Oh, for
And
sure.
as you go further and further out into the Pacific, there's got to be some craziness going on
I
out
mean,
there.
I think John Florence has sailed the run up and won't talk about any of it, but I think he has found some epic both like outer reefs and also just proper waves on those islands.
I've seen, obviously, you've seen what happened with Nazir, right?
Yeah.
Nazir with, and right there in Portugal with,
Yep.
it's like the largest recorded wave surfed ever from both male and female. And, you know, Portugal owns another set of islands called the Azores, and they're like in the middle of the Atlantic. And I've always wondered, I used to live there when I was a kid.
Oh, you live in the Azores? Yeah, the Azores pump. The Azores have like proper waves. Yeah.
No
There's
shit.
there's like a little surf community there now.
Wow.
Yeah. I think when Portugal, I think, got bigger into surfing. I mean, it's always kind of been a thing there, but I think it really took off in the last 20 years in Portugal. And so the Portuguese, and now obviously the Brazilians just going bananas. They're just going around their own little zone, get all those.
Yeah, I wondered that about that because I think it's either the Portuguese or the Spanish own the Canary Islands, right?
Yeah.
And that place has been a good surf spot since the beginning.
Yep.
And so I'm wondering now with Nazir, it's kind of like Waimea for Hawaii, or you know, some of the slow rolling waves of Waikiki. It gets people attention, and then all of a sudden you see this western cape of Europe opening up to the big Atlantic storms and all the stuff that it can generate.
Completely, which is so weird that a place like Nazare could be there for so long. And I mean, but I guess, like, you know what, it took them forever to surf Pipeline too, like where you take it for granted once people start. But I mean, the fact that people are now that Jaws is a paddle and wave is insane.
Damn, I didn't realize that.
Jaws is now you're not cool if you're towing Jaws anymore. You only paddle Jaws, which is insane. Paddle, like, I don't know how they make their arms move that fast.
Man, and with the wind blowing like that.
Yeah. It's totally insane. The guys will just airdrop.
Yeah, I know. In the 80s and 90s, you see Laird out.
Totally. It was just a tow wave, but yeah, now it's a straight paddle wave.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Have you seen a lot of the stuff that Laird is doing with the board and the hydrofoil?
Yeah, it's a lot of people are doing it out here now, like especially on small days. Yeah, like because you can catch anything on it. I mean, you don't have to have a real wave; you just have to have something that's rolling.
Right.
They're so stinking deadly though. Like if there's a kook on one in the lineup, I mean, because those things fly out, they can scalp people. So yeah, I think people are not so brave. But my wife is a action sports agent, and one of her clients is Travis Rice, who's a big snowboarder. And that's all he does is foil, because I think it just feels like snowboarding to him. But he'll be able to catch a little bump and be able to pump, like ride it and be able to pump all the way back out to the lineup and catch another one without stopping.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a couple questions for you, man. So obviously you're talking to some military dudes, and we've probably have tread the same kind of ground, just in different shoes. Do you have a message for some of the military guys as they go into places like the Middle East? And like I can appreciate the Middle East. I lived there. I actually lived there, not just deployed there. But reading your book, I was kind of stunned just to see your angle, because I never once thought to go there just for surfing. I tried to like surf waves as I came across them where possible, but I never once looked at it like going down to Mexico just to surf purely. So, do you have a message for some of the Marines who may end up going there for some reason or another? And obviously, you crossed a lot of paths there with people.
I mean, yeah, most of it is the fun is in, unturned corners, like where, yeah, you can go somewhere and do all the same stuff. But I don't know, searching for adventure is a thing in and of itself. And I think you guys, have it in your DNA, like the whole adventure thing. But, and I think when you're doing something like that, at least for me, uh, there's some change in the people you're with where I think adventure is appreciated across any language, across any religion, across anything. And if people see somebody out searching or being brave or, exploring, I think there's something appealing to that very naturally. And it's a way, I don't know, you can communicate on a human level beyond and above sort of any difference at that point where, people can be stoked on what you're doing or interested in it. And I don't know, it's just easy to fall in the same pattern, right? Of,
Yeah.
like you said, finding the bar or finding whatever. But I don't know, the Middle East, especially if anybody's going there, it's hot and it can be lame and it can seem on the surface, religiously oppressive and all that. But there's real fun in the margins there. And finding fun in the margins is a lot more enjoyable than, finding just fun in plain sight.
That's well said, man. Having fun in those margins. We have like a small little social media group of friends from when we were in Bahrain, and for us, we all, when people ask us where would you like to go back, places you've been and live. I mean, there's places I've visited that I would love to go back. Like one of my favorite spots is Norway.
Oh yeah.
I think to a person, one of our favorite spots is to go back to Bahrain, and or in other places in the Middle East, not just Bahrain, but just because the people, were solid, and actually living there and seeing the salt of the earth kind of people that kind of make the country run. Whether it's the service industry or whatever they're caught up in. It was it's so far removed from like going to different parts of the Western culture. Like doing a trip to Europe is great, but man, living in Saudi Arabia or Yemen or Oman and actually spending time and chewing the dirt with all these other folks, that for us, especially my wife and I, was like a life-changing experience. And it's something that if given the opportunity, we would go back and do.
Oh, I hear you.
Yeah. So let's say COVID ends tomorrow, man. Where do you go?
Oh, if COVID ended tomorrow, I'd get on a plane and go straight to Beirut, to be honest. Like when their whatever blew up, their port blew up, it made me so starving to get back there. So that's where I'd go.
Wow.
I love Beirut. Have you done Beirut?
I've never been Beirut, man. I would love to go.
Phenomenal. Yeah, such good food and yeah, funny night. I mean, got the Christians in the hills just raging all night, and the Hezbollah in the south running around. It's a fun mix.
Have you been to Jordan before?
I have.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Jordan, man. That's an amazing place.
Yeah,
Especially
Petra.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Have you been down to Aqaba?
Yeah, I had amoebic dysentery in Aqaba, so I got to stay there in a hospital for 7 days, which was pretty fun.
No shit.
But it's a good place. Yep. Plugged into an IV for 7 days. I think my bill after 7 days was it was like $300.
No way.
Oh, thank you, Middle East, for cheap healthcare.
Wow. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. We spent probably, I want to say, close to a year total in Jordan, just broke it up over a couple of years. And there during the winter and during the summer and spring.
So great.
Yeah, I think the spring in the Middle East is probably like your best time.
Mm-hmm.
Because cool mornings and nice midday summers, and plus it's greener.
Yep.
And that was one of the things I never even thought that would happen. It just seems fields of green just from the showers. But one of the more amazing things was we got to go to the western part of Jordan near the refugee camps.
Yep.
And to your point, like with Yemen and some of these other places, you got a country like Jordan that does all it can for its struggles. You see the refugee crisis they have, the problem, the situation from Syria, and they're just every day fighting the good fight and keeping that country going, and they're resource deficient, so it's like at every corner could be a crisis, but they govern their way through it. So it's a remarkable place.
Yep.
Like you said, you're definitely in the fringes there, especially when you go to Oman.
Yeah.
Massive capital, man.
Yep.
It's really, really unbelievable. But with that, I'll leave it to you guys. If you guys have any other questions. Nothing else. All right. Well, hey, Chaz, I appreciate your time, man.
My pleasure.
I just want to get you for a few minutes and bend your ear about not only the book, but some of the other things that we talked about. But a final question for you. You going to write another book anytime soon?
Yeah, I'm writing one right now. My cousin robbed a bunch of banks and then went on the lam and then robbed a bunch more. And sort of that side of the family is big mega church pastors. So it's the combination of his bank robbing and mega churches. He's almost got the record. I think he gets out in 2 years. And I'm going to encourage him to you might as well. Once you've done 2 stints in prison for bank robbing, you might as well really go for the record. So I'm going to encourage him to hit it.
That is insane, man.
Yeah, he's pretty fun. He robbed all around Oceanside and stuff too. So yeah, the Boonie Hat Man. Huh?
Oh, in California?
Yeah, he did. He did California, and then I think he did 19. He did 19 banks in 6 weeks, and then got arrested and did, I think, 7 years in prison, which I thought that's a great deal. 19 banks for 7 years. I mean, it's like a real return on the investment there. But then, yeah, tried to steal art and jewels from some guy's house, and so went on the lam for 3 or 4 years and robbed a ton more in Colorado, Utah, and then finally got busted in Boise. But then only got another 7 years or something. So, yeah, I don't know what kind of deals he's getting in prison, but he's a dang Coast Guard. Maybe he's got some Coast Guard hookups in prison.
Dang, that's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
that's crazy.
He hit me up when he was on the lam. So I have it was funny to go along with him, sort of, at least mentally, while he was running from the FBI and robbing banks.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Well, that's the next one.
Jesus.
Cousin Danny.
Wow. Well, I can't wait to read it, man. I think it'll be entertaining.
I'll send you out one when it's done.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Chaz. I appreciate your time, man. And thanks for spending some time with us. And I'll send you my buddy's info, and he'll take you out.
Fantastic. Oh, I can't wait.
And, but I'll leave it at that. But I appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.